darn thing off. Welcome everybody. It is Thursday, November 10th, and we are having our monthly mastermind. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, would you just give me a wave? Anybody for the first time? All right. Good. Welcome. We're so glad that you're here. We have this mastermind every month on the second Thursday of the month at lunchtime. So if you would like to join us, that is lunchtime in the US, depending on which uh, area code, zip code you are in. And sometimes we even get folks from the other side of the planet that join us in the evening. So glad to have everybody here. We'd love to see you back. There are a few of you who have been coming for quite a long time. So what in the world is a mastermind group anyway? It's really about peer mentoring. What you're going to find if you're brand new is there are quite a few coaches on the line here that come almost every month, and then we have a lot of people in our circles that we invite to come be a part of this mastermind. We're presented one topic by one of the coaches presenting, and then we just give you a big question at the end and we talk about it, right? Something that is pertinent to your business or to you as a leader in the business that you work in. Basics. Listen, no questions are off limits. No comments are off limits. We need to respect each other, be nice to each other, and allow folks to talk. So don't wear out your time is what I'm saying. So be nice. We've got a big group today, and don't hog the camera. How's that? Is that nice enough? What are the benefits? It's about sharing skills. It's about accountability, and it's also about networking. And it's brought to you by so many coaches that are across the state of Texas here to help all of us grow as business owners. So today, Mr. Weaver, Brian Weaver, is going to be presenting our topic. Brian, if you want to cue that up, for the folks who are brand new or haven't been here before, would you do a quick intro for me? So, Brad Bricker, would you just do an introduction, please, sir?
Sure. I'm Brad Ricker. I'm with CMIT Solutions. We're a franchise managed service provider for IT services for small business.
Fantastic. Brad, welcome. We're glad to have you. Brian Brooks, have you been here before?
I have not, Trisha.
Okay. Would you
I'm
please
Brian
introduce
Brooks,
yourself?
owner of Brooks IT. Yes, I am Brian Brooks. Service for we build, support, manage technology for businesses. Thank you.
Awesome. Welcome, Brian. Anybody else who's not been here before? Bonnie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. This is my first time. I'm Bonnie Alcaraz and I own Luna Hospitality Group. I do business as Uli's Kitchen. So I am a restaurateur.
Fantastic. Welcome. And Letitia, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Lakeisha Jaji. I am the owner and operator of JWall Business Solutions, where we provide medical revenue cycle management as well as overall business support for doctors' offices and healthcare facilities.
Cool. Fantastic. If you guys will put your contact information in the chat window, that would be amazing. We'll do quick intros for those of you. Oh, Philip Barrera, have you been here before?
No, I'm not.
Would you please introduce yourself, sir?
Sure. Philip Barrera, first time caller, long time listener. No, I'm just kidding. I am with Farmers Insurance, and I have an agency with Farmers Insurance. Should know us. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Thanks, Philip. Real quick, for those of you who have visited us multiple times, if you do a quick intro as well. And let's go to Jesse. Would you introduce yourself, sir?
Well, hello, everybody. So my name is Jesse. Company is Ask Us XYZ, and we are business advisors helping businesses be in the know. Thanks, Trisha.
Fantastic. You're welcome. Kathy Cortez.
Everybody, I'm Kathy Cortez with Acticare Galveston. I take care of people.
All right, Dave.
Hi, I'm
Please, sir.
Dave Denbor. I'm with the Audit Committee with National Guard Association of Texas.
Fantastic. Welcome. Greg Alt.
Greg Alt with Paramount Services. We're a fractional CFO services company.
Great to see you. And Karen McCoy, can you talk to us today? There you
Yes,
are.
ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Happy Thursday, family, and happy Marine Corps birthday to all the Marines out there. I'm Karen McCoy with the Ladies of Justice, and we help attorneys go to heaven. Thank you.
I love it. All right. All of the coaches on the line, wave your hand. Coaches, coaches, coaches. All right, cool. For the sake of time, if you guys will just put your contact information in the chat window in case someone wants to connect with you, that would be fantastic. Did I miss anybody who's not a coach? Cool. Brian Weaver, it is my pleasure to introduce you to this amazing group today. We may have a few more people pop in. As I said, we had 37 people registered to talk about sales processes. So it is all yours, sir.
Thank you. And I will caveat this with, I will hog the camera a little bit more, just than Tricia said, but it's my right since I put the presentation together. I also will ask multiple questions throughout the presentation, so it's not just going to be about me. So first off, I like to keep things simple. I think too many people try to overcomplicate running their business, and they especially like to overcomplicate their sales and their sales processes. So today we're going to really talk about three things. One, who needs a sales process? Two, what does a sales process generally look like? And three, then we'll discuss three key principles about why we need it. So, multiple choice. Who needs a sales process? A, big companies. B, medium companies. C, companies with a sales team. Or D, solopreneurs. Who needs it? Trick question. All businesses need a sales process. It's in the title. Literally, it's like up at the title of the page. It's going to be on every single page. Everybody needs one. So let's ask the first question in the group. Who actually has a sales process here? And coaches, you don't get to say anything because I know what your sales process looks like. Kathy, I'm going to call you out. Do you have a sales process? I'm going to say no based on.
I think I do.
Okay.
That's probably a no, right? That's probably, yeah. Okay. No. Yeah. I have to think about it.
Jesse, do you have a sales process?
You're muted, sir.
You're muted.
I hit it once, stupid Zoom. Yes, I do, Brian. But it depends on who I'm speaking with.
Okay. All right. Good. Anybody else? Anybody else have a sales process? And who needs
Brian Brooks.
All right. I don't see everybody on my thing. I only see little bits and pieces. I have to keep shuffling around the people. So, all right. So let's talk about real quick what a sales process is. So I want to tee up the idea that a sales process is more like a staircase with steps and not a funnel the way we usually talk about it. We can lay out the steps and be very deliberate about each step that we're taking. So when we talk about a funnel that feeds our sales pipeline, that's just a representation of the results of the process itself. So we lay out the steps, we can then understand the purpose of each step and start to build and customize our own sales process. We can build intentional actions to serve customers really well at the step that they're at. And then they have to raise their hand in order to go to the next step. So you may say, well, Brian, I own a Chick-fil-A franchise. I don't need to have a sales process. Well, first off, congrats if that's you, because we know that you're just printing money now. But even at a company like Chick-fil-A, every engagement there is deliberate and it's part of their sales process. In a nutshell, sales process needs to generate more leads. This is part of your marketing. So Chick-fil-A, it could be print advertising, it could be sponsoring events, things like that. You need to qualify those leads. This is an important step for all of us.
La ilustración es la que, como la que te mandaron.
We
ahead,
need to
Brian.
move through this step quickly. I will tell you, I've wasted a lot of time in my sales career barking up the wrong tree. So at Chick-fil-A, let's use that model again. This is pretty easy. They walk into the store, they're qualified. They're there to buy something. For the rest of us, we need to work a little bit harder. The key thing we've got to do at this point is ensure we know who our ideal customer is. If your ideal customer is a lawyer, don't go hang out with yard guys. They're going to be a different group of people. If your ideal customer are doctors, don't hang out with roofers at the end of the day. It's a pretty easy concept. You then need to determine the need. At Chick-fil-A, going back to that, I'm hungry. There's the need. That's a pretty easy one. Then you need to present a solution. It may be a technical solution that takes a lot of research, or in our Chick-fil-A model, it may just be saying that, okay, we have chicken. That's your solution to your problem. And then close the deal. Here's an amazing statistic from salesman, salesmate.io is the website. They have a lot of fun statistics on there. 48%, so almost half of all sales calls end without an attempt to close the sale. I'm baffled by that. But then when I think about it, I can think of many conversations I've had with people where I didn't actually try to close the deal. And I was just waiting for them to respond and give me something. So we close the deal, but it doesn't stop. Your process needs to address how you retain your customers. Your execution is a big part of this. So what's the last thing you hear at Chick-fil-A as you're driving off from the drive-thru? My pleasure, right? You say, thanks, my pleasure. That's one of their retention methods. And for some reason, I keep wanting to buy stuff there so I get to the signature status. I don't even know why I want to be a signature member at Chick-fil-A, except maybe I accumulate points faster. I have very few badges of honor in my life, but my signature status is one of them. You then want to make those customers your champions. So they're dragging customers to you. So simply put, every sales process should have the aim of getting more and better clients, retaining them, and making them so happy that they refer everybody they know to you. So let's just stop for a second. What's most helpful for you in the what a sales process should look like? And I'll ask the question a different way, or actually a different question. Who has addressed these things in their sales process?
So Brian, can coaches talk now?
Yeah, you can talk now. Go ahead.
You just saw lip zipped, right? I think one of the things that I would like to draw out here, and maybe it will help bring more people out of their shell to talk about it, is the point that you made about 48% of sales calls end without an ask to close. So how many of you are not closing the deal as often as you would like? Yeah. So Karen, I saw you raise your hand. Did you have a comment?
Yes, I was going to say, just say some of this process he's sharing right this second, some of the same things we do in our part of the network marketing business solution side. You have to make that list of who you want to contact, and then reach out to them and build that relationship. So we do touch on some of those you gave us. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm responding to a message in the chat about the website that I saw just now. No, Karen, that's good feedback there. I will ask Sean, you've done the sales a long time. I'm gonna call you out here. What am I missing? And let's go back to our presentation here. What am I missing? Anything?
Well, I mean, it depends on the client and it depends on their business, right? What is the process? But it's actually, Brian, a lot worse than you even spell it out to be, or the salesmate.io. Most studies show that worldwide, 90% of organizations don't even have a sales process.
Yeah.
So then they wonder why they have a certain percentage of their sales team doing really, really well, and they can't find a repeatable way to hire people to keep up. And so they start blaming those people they hire when in fact there's no repeatable process for success.
Yep.
And when they do get to that point where they actually implement a sales process for them that works, not only do the people that were lagging pick up, but the guy or the lady that was killing it does even better. So it's an incredible, powerful thing. I often tell clients, if you just install a sales process, you can increase your sales dramatically without spending one more nickel on marketing.
The other interesting stat that I read was that 75%, the feedback from 75% of businesses doing business with other businesses, their key frustration with salespeople is lack of follow-up. The salesperson makes a pitch and then they go away and they never hear about it from them again. And they're like, well, I was ready to buy, but nobody's actually come back to me and followed through. It takes on average 5 different engagements to close a deal across businesses. Now your business may be, a little bit more streamlined. It may take longer. But it's, again, those are the things that gets into having a sales team that has a process for follow-up, for follow-through, and you can hold them accountable to it.
Hi, Brian.
Yeah.
This is Frank. So I find that with our sales team here, it's the first 3 that are the hardest.
Oh yeah.
Not the close necessarily. Once we present, our close rate's pretty good. It's generating leads, qualifying them, and get to the real need.
And that's actually very common. That's the thing that salespeople on average either do the worst at or don't like doing the most of. They don't like prospecting. And then like I said, one of the key things you can do here is qualifying your leads so you're not wasting your time as a business or as a salesperson. Karen, I see your hand up. Oh, sorry, your digital hand was up. Okay.
Well, and I think another interesting thing to look at here, I don't know how everyone feels about the whole prospecting thing, but I find as I talk to clients and other coaches that that's usually the place that we feel most uncomfortable is that prospecting place. But if you think about where that lands here in the sales process, the building trust and rapport and understanding the challenge of your prospects so that you can make them clients, that's like 70 to 80% of the sales process, right? Is getting to know and understanding who it is that you're serving and understanding the challenges that they have. Because a lot of us walk around with this solution looking for the problem. Does anybody have this problem? Does anybody have this problem? No, that's not what sales is about, right? It's really about understanding the challenge of the people who need what you have.
Yeah. And the same goes for I'll use Chick-fil-A just because everybody knows Chick-fil-A. I like to talk about them. And they're a successful group, and people don't think in terms of a company like them needing to have this process. They are going through the same challenge, and they have gone through that same challenge, but they formalized everything that you just talked about there, Tricia. If you go get hired there, and I've got a friend of mine, their kid was hired, I looked through all of their manual, their employee manual. It is a giant sales process, basically, for how you're engaging the customer, how you are upselling them, how you're getting them back. So again, it just is I'll go back to everybody needs it. Everybody has to have this process somewhere in there, regardless of the size.
What does every Chick-fil-A person say to you at the end of the conversation?
My pleasure.
Bingo. It's a sales process.
It is. Every single time. So, all right.
I'd be interested. Oh, sorry, Brian, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
I was just going to say I'd be interested to hear, because we've got a mixed group here, right? We've got some people who have staff and maybe a sales team, right? Whether it's one person or 5 people. And then there are some here that are solo, right? They're entrepreneurs. They don't have a team. They're doing the sales themselves. Those of you who are solo or entrepreneurs without a sales team, are you doing the sales yourself? You can just head nod. Yeah. Are you good at it? I see some. And then the third question is, do you have a written sales process? Anybody want to talk about it?
I'll talk about
Philip
mine in a
Barrera?
second. But
My sales process isn't written down anymore, but I've pretty much got it memorized. And some of the things he said earlier, when I talk to other agents and their staff, I'm stunned how they will, have a prospect call, want a quote, put it together, send it to them, might call them sometimes, which just really blew me away, or call, present it, not ask, and then that's the end of the chain. And in my office, that's not what we do. We call 8 times, because I learned early on that this sale is important to me. It's my life. It's what I do. But for somebody else in real life, they're just looking for insurance. Maybe, they still got the house to worry about, their job, this exercise, the kids. That this is just one facet of their life where it's my focus. So I've had many times when I follow up, they're like, "Oh, hey, thanks for calling me back. I had to go out of town. Let's do it," or whatever it is. And then, yeah, I ask. My simple ask is, when there's too much silence, I say, so we take, MasterCard, Visa, EFT, what works for you? And I'm guiding them to where I want them to go. So, but yeah, my process is defined. It's all in my head now. So.
yeah, and Phil, I think you hit a key point: is give them the alternatives in that close. All right, this is how we can move forward. These are your options. We do, and all the coaches on this call will do the same thing. We do entire lessons on how to sell based on a person's behavior and their behavior styles. And some of those behavior styles they just need a choice, and they'll move forward. They just don't need 18 choices. Say, we can do this or this. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys say, great, let's move with plan A and move forward.
We also never ask closed-ended questions. Those are a no-no. So we never give them a chance to just flat out say no to whatever it is.
Yep.
Always an option.
Good feedback and good lessons there. So
Trish, I got to pay the last guy. I'll be right back. Sorry.
Okay.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit more about why. Why do you need a sales process and what it does for you beyond the lead generation and things like that? So the first principle I want to talk about is that a process allows you to serve your customer appropriately. A systematic process can ensure that your customers are treated well and communicated in such a way that you have envisioned. You, as the owner of the business, have envisioned this. When you find a formula that works and your approach is uniform, you can successfully repeat over and over and over again the same process with future clients. So it's just you making sales, for instance. One of the key benefits of having a defined process is also that allows you to figure out what works and what doesn't. So if I talk to 10 clients about the color of the widget that I'm producing and no one buys, and then I change my script and I go talk to 10 more clients about how the widget will help make their life better, or grow their business or something, and 4 people buy, well, which of those scripts am I going to stick with? Well, I'm going to stick with the one that's batting 400, not the one batting 0, right? It works just as well when you have a salesperson or people working on your team as well. You establish the playbook for them, and sure, their general styles are going to come into effect, and they may be a little bit different in how they talk to customers, but the process will be the same. So you adapt the weaker parts of your sales process to improve the stages where you're most likely to lose your customers in this case. It'll enable your business to be more effective in terms of gaining and retaining your customers. So again, I'll throw another question out for the group. Can any of you give me an example? And actually, I won't even say it. That's a closed-ended question to Philip's point. I'd like to hear some examples from your businesses where a salesperson did not represent you the way you want. So I'd like to hear.
Me.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So we just started Wind Down Wednesday, and all I need my servers to do is greet every table with, on Wednesdays, of course, "Hi, welcome in. Are you joining us for Wind Down Wednesday today?" Like right there, you're letting them know about something they may not know is going on because it is new for us. And secondly, you're telling them they're ordering wine today. Like, and I tell my servers repeatedly, you tell your customers what to order. You don't say, "Hi, what can I get you?" Like, you're not there to deliver food. You're there to sell it. And so I have had immense frustration with that. It is getting better every Wednesday, but that is so frustrating for me.
That's a great example, Bonnie. Thank you. Who else? Because otherwise I'll start giving my own examples. So I got a lot of them.
I had one. It was for salesperson had been here about a year. I've since fired him actually, but it was about a $600,000 proposal for a fairly big client, and I was going to go out there with them. So this is for a company that I've been working with since June. And so I said, well, let's meet at the office and I will go out there with you. And he came, this was probably, the customer's close by, but it was within a half hour of our appointment. He came with a single page quote to hand to the customer for a $600,000 order. No information on the product that we're going to provide, no drawings, no details, nothing. It was just, it was an amazing lack of preparation and care that was pretty startling.
Yeah.
That was a bad experience. So I quickly helped him put something together so that we would have at least something to give to the customer regarding what we're proposing for nearly $750,000.
Yeah. I worked for a engineering services company, so kind of similar to that, Frank, where we were selling, high-end consulting type work, but PhD mechanical engineers, things like that. And I did a ride along with one of my salespeople. I was running all the sales for the team. We did not have a sales process at this point. I sat there, and this was a job that probably would have amounted to about $1 million. I sat there for 30 minutes while the sales guy just talked, and he talked, and he talked, and he talked. And we didn't walk away with any business. We didn't walk away talking about what the problems were. It was a frustrating thing. So I called the customer on the side later and said, "Hey, I want your feedback on how that call went." He goes, "Hey, I love working with that guy. He's really nice, but we haven't really talked about my problems." I said, "Yeah, okay, appreciate that." I didn't fire that guy. He was actually able to take feedback and get better at it. But it made me realize that by us not having kind of a defined, I won't even say script, but at least an agenda of what we needed to cover in each of those engagements, we had salespeople running around just talking to people. And they weren't like selling, they were just talking to people. It's kind of all they were doing. Once we fixed that piece of it, we sold a lot more actually.
See, Brian, and I think that's something important to keep in mind when we talk about a sales process. Those are the steps that we have to, or the modules, the phases of the process we have to go through, from getting the account to closing, right? Whatever that process looks like. So typically it's, initiating contact, having a discovery meeting, closing and follow up, whatever it looks like. But the things that you're talking about now are more like the tactics underneath each of those phases.
Yes.
And the reason those are important is so that salesperson totally understands what's necessary to accomplish before moving to the next phase.
Yep.
So if we have an initial contact, what does that look like for our company? So to use Chick-fil-A, they're going to greet, right? Certain things are going to happen before they take the order. Certain things are going to happen before they give you the order. Certain things are going to happen before you walk out of that door, and each phase is well spelled out. So it's one thing, a baseball game. We don't go from home plate to second and then to third to first. We follow them in an order every time. And certain things have to happen before we go to the next phase. That is critical in every sales process. And a lot of organizations, as you're just describing, will spell out, hey, you're going to get a lead and then you're going to call them. Well, what does that look like?
Yeah.
We really need to spell out. Now, that doesn't mean today we do phase one and tomorrow we do phase two and third day we do it. We may do all the phases in one call, but we don't move to questioning until we've qualified the prospect. Well, how do we qualify the prospect? We have to check those boxes, either as Philip does mentally in his head because he's done it for so long, or physically the sales rep's sitting there and go, okay, did I do this? Yep, I did that. Yep, I did that. Let's move forward. Anyway, I thought that might help.
No, great feedback, Sean. Anybody else have anything to share on this piece?
Personally, I think the most important thing is understanding your customer and understanding how you're going to present to that customer, because if you're going in doing first gearing the entire conversation and you're talking to a scientist or an engineer, you've lost the sale. And like say for scientists and engineers, we get down to business quickly. And if you're going in for a business opportunity, you may have to first gear that person in order to gain their trust so that you can do that business. But again, as you mentioned, going in and doing first gearing with an engineer, you better clear that out in the first 2 or 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's again going back to the when you're qualifying. First off, when you're qualifying your customers, hopefully you understand if you're selling to engineers and scientists, that's who you're normally selling to. That's one of the things that in previous life, we were typically selling engineering services to other engineers at the end of the day when I worked at Stress. So it was we knew how to go in there. All of our sales team were either degreed engineers themselves, or they had one of those industrial distribution type backgrounds, or it's a little bit technical. But yeah, great point, Cortland. I appreciate that.
So Brian, I'm sorry. I wanted to go back to what Bonnie said, right? She was like, oh me, right? And how can we as a group help Bonnie get past this thing that's happening in her space where her servers are not asking about Wind Down Wednesday? So as a group, can we collectively, help Bonnie figure out how to overcome that? We've all experienced it, maybe not in the restaurant business, right? But we tell somebody they need to go do something and they're not doing it, which is causing stress on the sales process, right? Mm-hmm. Because she could be upselling something else in her restaurant, I'm sure, right? Bonnie, would it be okay if we picked on you?
Yeah, you absolutely can. And if I can kind of streamline that question a little bit, Jesse and I are talking in the private chat. I said, I would love to know how Chick-fil-A drums up the enthusiasm with their employees, because that's really what it is, when you hire people, for a lot of people, serving is a stepping stone job. It's something they're doing in the summer. It's something they're doing while they're in college. It's not something they consider a career. And so their enthusiasm, you can explain the why, you can give them the process, you give them all the tools, and they're like, yeah, whatever. I've got homework later. I'm just here, make my tips, go home. And so I'd love to know how Chick-fil-A manages to turn these kids doing fast food work into really enthusiastic salespeople. Or if anybody has an experience where they've managed to take somebody that was kind of skeptical about their participation in your business and you've turned them into a stellar salesperson, man, I'd really love to hear how you inspired them.
So I wrote a book I had a project I did with Yum Brands, owns Pizza Hut and KFC, etc. And there's a book out there, Customer Mania, a story about Yum Brands. that'd be interesting to read for you. But it talks about how, as a corporate, how they take care of their employees from stores to elevate them through management and up into corporate. And I could see some of that as I worked with them in the corporate offices. I could see some of that culture. I know you're not the enterprise that Yum Brands is, but that kind of mentality helped build that. Doesn't necessarily get them to upsell like you want them to, but I'm sure most of them are young like I was when I was waiting tables back in high school. That upselling wasn't on my mind. It was getting a good tip was on my mind. But
Yeah.
Definitely. And I understand that too. I was a 19-year-old waitress once upon a time.
So on this topic, just with waitressing and stuff, the business model, if you look at European model, service was a profession and it was treated like a profession. And here in the United States, a lot of times in the past, especially pre-COVID, it was a before stepping. But you realize that this is people's industry and that actually it's their profession and they want to be doing it. And companies are starting to catch on and treat their employees. It's about the culture within that's saying, just because you're a server doesn't mean this is less of a job, and you can be trained and provided as this is a career. And you have that culture and that step in the hiring process within that, those folks that are coming to you start to get that and want to be there. Now, Chick-fil-A model is a little different. They hire young, typically kids, but it's about the culture. But McDonald's did it before too. They want you there. They give you discounts. They feed you. Behind the doors, they get the kids to like working there. They like working there. They want to succeed. And that gets passed on to the customers and gets passed on to the next employees.
Well, Jesse, you're right. It's all about setting expectations, right? They do a very good job of setting expectations of what's expected when you're there. If Chick-fil-A guy doesn't show up on time in his uniform, ready to go at 8 o'clock when he's supposed to punch in, he's probably not working. Yet we have employees that show up at the office with breakfast in hand, sit down at the desk, got to finish what they're eating before they ever answer a phone, then go take a break. None of that's allowed in fast food.
Yeah.
None of it. Chick-fil-A guy doesn't get to go take a break when he wants to take a break. The lady at McDonald's doesn't say, hey, I'm not going to work the register right now. I need to go handle a phone call. None of that's allowed. When they take a lunch, it's 30 minutes and they're back at their station in 30 minutes. Yet in business, what? Oh, hour and a half, whatever. When they get back, they get back. It's all about setting expectations. The same thing that we do in the sales process. We set expectations with the client from go.
Yeah. And that comes down to pride. If you take pride in what you do, you don't have that typically problem in employees because they feel like they're part of the team and what they do counts, and how they show up and do their work represents just not who they are, but the company. And they take pride in that. And companies challenge people and provide tools sometimes to do that. Google's a big creator. They give their teams time to do side projects to let their exploratory side think different, so they're not always felt like they're stuck in a single lane. It gives them the creativity to show to say, hey, you're part of this team, even though they have 100,000 employees.
Yeah, you make a great point, Jesse. I've been talking about it a lot over the last couple of weeks about foundation, right? And it all starts with your values. Your values as a leader, your values as a business owner, and how that perpetuates through your team and your business, right? That's where the culture comes from. It comes from you as a leader. It comes from you as a business owner. And I think the more you share with your team, your own enthusiasm, your own values, your vision, your mission, your purpose in your business, the more excited your employees are to participate. To your point, Jesse, they become part of the vision, right? They become part of the business and they have a buy-in. And these young people, sorry to get on a soapbox here, but young people want to serve a purpose. I know there are a lot of people out there saying millennials are hard to work with. Well, you know what? If millennials have a purpose, and they're driven by that purpose, they're going to show up, and they're going to show up the way you want them to because you're the one showing them the way, right? And I think it's so important to dig back into the foundation of why you're in business in the first place and share that with your employees. Share it with yourself, share it with your client. right? If you're a solo entrepreneur, then you're sharing that with your clients. Soapbox, done. I'm done.
So,
all right. So I have a question about the original question. The young lady asked, "What can I do?" So my question is, how your servers, how do they start their shift? Do they go? Is there sort of a talk about what's important for the day, or do they just go straight to their stations and start providing service?
The first they go through their opening side work, right? We set everything up, roll silverware, get everything prepped, set the tables. But we do have a shift meeting. It's usually in the afternoon. I'm a very small restaurant right now. So like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I usually only have 2 people on the floor for lunch. So, yeah, we have a meeting. They know what's up. Wednesdays, hey, ask everybody if they're joining us for Wind Down Wednesday. We talk about features, anything that we are out of or unable to get, because that's kind of an ongoing thing, even this far post-pandemic. But there is a chat. There's not a lot of rah rate. I'm not doing the whole Target thing or Walmart or whatever, where everybody, dances and high fives and all that stuff. Although, maybe some variation of that, something that's right now, I seem to have a lot of competitive kind of bad attitudes. And one of them is removing themselves in 2 weeks. And I think that might show some improvement, but it's difficult to do that kind of infectious team building stuff that a lot of the big companies do, because it feels silly with only 3 people in the meeting. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Then, so throughout the shift, what's the reminder activity about what's important for the day?
That's a very good question. I don't suppose we have one during the shift.
Yeah, because I was at a really nice restaurant over the weekend, and I can see that, when they get really busy, I can see that anything beyond just really refilling cups and getting the meals to the tables, everything else becomes secondary to those primary activities. So your supervision teams that are on the floor, or however you supervise the servers, might there be an opportunity, halfway through the shift, quarter way through the shift, to continuously remind people that, here's our focus for the day. I get you. I hear you on the rah stuff, and that's, again, that works for some and maybe not for others. But would it be sort of too far out the box if you were to work with your servers and say, hey, look, let's talk about what is it that we want to accomplish today? What are our goals for the day? And it might mean, X% we want to have people participate in Wind Down Wednesday, or whatever your promotions are. So we make them current and relevant to what it is you're trying to achieve as the owner. But then we use we get them to buy into the goals, and then we remind them about the goals throughout the shift. Just a thought.
I like that idea. I'd like to maybe expand on it by giving them ownership of setting those goals and intentions. Maybe let them lead the conversation, or at least part of it.
Yes, exactly. And then never forget that people like contests. They like to be winners. So if it's appropriate in your environment, if you could create a little bit of a competition, whoever gets the most people to participate in Wind Down Wednesdays, there's a little special recognition of some sort. It doesn't have to be huge, just has to be that we recognize exceptional performance. Because we can't forget, with our younger generations, they need a lot more coddling than those of us on the call that are proud baby boomers. We were okay with just, hey, it was a good job. Sometimes the Gen Zs and some of the younger millennials, they need something a little bit more over the top. So,
well, and everybody speaks money. So, I mean, whoever sells the most, I got $20 for you.
So also it reminds me of an experience I had years ago at a Chili's. Mm-hmm. I don't do Chili's very often, but when they said, hey, I'm winning the competition for selling the most margaritas today, and that's what we're trying to do. It's like, well, we'll take 2 then. So we that right there was the selling point for us. Like, all right, well, let's help you win. So.
I like that subtle suggestion. Yes.
Kathy's got her hand up, Brian.
Oh, Kathy, sorry.
Hey, I just wanted to offer something to Bonnie that I learned in leadership class that's helped me with my employees. I have a team of caregivers, and if I just ask them like, hey, how's it going? That devolves into venting very fast. So I have to be careful. And I mean, I am there for them when they want to vent, because it is really tough what we do. It's very emotional. It's very heartfelt. But as far as setting the tone for positive attitudes, one of the tricks I learned is if you don't have a lot of time with someone, you lead the conversation by saying, okay, give me one positive professional thing and one positive personal thing that's going on right now. And you go around the room doing that, assuming you have time to do that. And that kind of sets the tone for positive conversation. And also then what's going on with them, like, hey, so-and-so is moving into a new house, or so-and-so just got engaged, or so-and-so's brother's coming into town. It gives you that little bit of personal information. You can ask about that later. So that's just one trick that I learned.
Yeah, that's great. All right. We've got a couple more concepts, then we'll close, but they're not long. So why do we have this goes back to why do we have a process? Once you have a process, you can actually create key performance indicators around the process. So a KPI measures the actions, not the results. So think in terms of how much sales did we get this month? That's a result. Actions that led to the sales are measured through KPIs. It's a leading indicator. So I know in my business, I needed to have about 100 conversations to get a new client. So if my goal is to get 2 new clients in a month, I better be talking to about 200 people in that month. All right. And when I don't talk to that many people and I don't book 2 clients, I can't be surprised when my monthly sales and revenue numbers come in. I haven't met my goals. I will be able to tell you in about the first week if I'm going to meet my goals, because there's no way I'm going to get caught up if I haven't started having those conversations. So again, pretty simple thing here, and but I can go at a lot of detail and metrics. We're not going to do that today. But I'd like to tee it up with the group. Who can give an example of a key performance indicator, not a key result? I don't care about your sales numbers. I want a key performance indicator in your sales process that you'd like to share with the group.
Hi, Brian. It's Lakeisha.
Hi, Lakeisha.
Well, since you just taught me this, I will share.
There you go.
For me, it would definitely be the number of calls a week and or networking meetings. So measuring and having a goal set of how many cold calls I will make via phone or in person, and then making sure that I am tracking from that how many leads come from those conversations, and how many proposals come from those conversations. So that would definitely be something that I have implemented since learning.
Since yesterday.
Yeah. No, it was that was yesterday.
It was yesterday.
Goodness. Thank you.
Good. No, that's good. Anybody else? Any other KPIs out there?
How about just the tone of how your engagement and your conversation with your network and your sales are?
What do you mean by that, Jesse?
Well, some people stay in a very tight box. Other people try and do something different.
Mm-hmm.
And some people you get on a phone, understand or don't. But when you
Mhm.
start to see a pattern of a KPI of people seeing a vision and applying it in a different method, is that a trackable KPI?
Well, let's think through that then. How would we measure that, do we think? And I say we got a whole bunch of folks here that we can ask.
Yeah.
So Other coaches, any thoughts on that? Trying to think for myself.
I'm trying to wrap my arms around how I would go about measuring something like what he just stated.
I mean, it could be as simple as just, do you grade your conversations with people and see where they go from each time? The first time you speak with somebody, they're lost in your conversation. The next time they get it, or vice versa. It's part of your sales process. It's also just the temperature of how that conversation goes.
So let me ask you a question. So what's I'm not trying to, but what's the goal of the sales conversation that you're trying to that you're having? What's the desired outcome?
Well, it depends in the circumstance and what you're selling.
I'm looking for something even more basic, because typically what we talk about is the desired outcome is typically moving the sales process or the discussion forward. So measurements could be something along the lines of when you had the meeting, did you come up with a clear next step? Did you schedule a follow-on meeting? Did you get the client to commit to something? All of these are sort of the pillars of moving something through a sales pipeline. So is that kind of what you were looking for, or did you
I
have
wasn't
something else in
looking. I
mind?
was just kind of commenting. So it depends again what you're selling and what's your process. I mean, everyone has different clients, right? Some
Yes,
people's
of
sales
course.
process, it could be 12 steps. It could take you years because of the type of what you're offering. Other
Yes.
people, you're selling cupcakes.
Right.
And so the first thing is that just, do you sell chocolate? Because that's their favorite thing,
Of course.
right? Or it's vegan. And so there's a sales process. But for coaches, if you're doing something different, you're gauging your audience of, are they understanding, maybe trying something different? Is this something you're too far outside the box? Or you're saying, hey, look, this is a new way of thinking. We're in a new world of dynamic business. This is how you should approach things. If your audience is starting to come back and you see the gears clicking, that's something that a KPI kind of internally shows that you're on the right track, and people are getting because of either your message or the way you're explaining it or what you're selling.
Yeah, so then you're trying to, I guess at that point, like you said, put a grade to the conversation. Is that a scale of 1 to 5? How well do I think that they got it, or are they moving forward? Right? Why not?
Yeah, having some kind of scorecard, right, is not a bad idea. So, Brian, we've got about 4 minutes left,
I got one
and
more
I think
slide.
we've had a really good conversation. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me give me one more slide, and it's one of the key things I think from a sales process standpoint, and plus it's a cool picture that I just like to show. It's really about herding cats too, at the end of the day. And I like to say that running a sales team is like herding cats with ADHD. I've done a lot of it myself, and everyone's got a different personality and everything else. I talk to a lot of owners who don't have a clue what their salespeople are doing at all. They'll say, look, I'm a business guy, I'm an operations guy. I hired him or her to go do sales, and that's it. And beyond that, a lot of them don't know if their salespeople are even effective. The process that delineates how your customers are spoken to and treated, it's scripted, at least or maybe at least has a good agenda. You've got established metrics. You now have a powerful accountability tool for your sales team. And you now have something that will help drive actions. So again, we won't get into a lot of the details of how that works, but again, I just want to tee this up as this is a great thing from an accountability standpoint for running sales teams. And when you get to the point in your business where you're hiring salespeople, you got to have something like this. Tricia, I'm going to turn it back to you. We've only got a couple minutes. I know we got a couple folks who are having a drop, but the only thing I'll say, if you got an experience with a rogue salesperson, I'd love to hear those too. So,
Thank you, Brian. That was a fantastic topic today. And Bonnie, looking at this slide, I'm thinking maybe if you're herding cats, you could have a can of tuna. I'm just saying, we know what cats like, right? We know what cats like. And that's really what it's about, right? I think is bringing people together, start with the foundations, and really put your values into your business. And that drives everything else, right? And as you look at your sales process, does it match what you really want to get out of your business, right? Is it creating or helping to create the path to the vision that you have for your business? And if you don't have one, then you probably should. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We are meeting in December. It will be December 8th. Frank Bick will be our presenter that day. As you know, you get a reminder that will follow next Thursday with some information about that. And then also on the first of the month, you'll get your second reminder with the topic, as well as information about Frank and what he'll be talking about. So I hope you all have an amazing afternoon and a wonderful Thanksgiving or holiday week, whatever you plan to do, and blessings to all. I hope that you all get to spend time with family and friends over the next few weeks, and we'll see you in December. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate
Thank you.
Points.